What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Auckland. I believe it's a 4 p.m. start time this weekend, a little bit early, but we got a crazy weekend for fights. Wilder versus Fury 2, a couple Bellator events, and a Combate. So the whole weekend stacked with fights. Should be some good opportunities for betting. I'm looking into the smaller promotions now, but we'll talk about UFC Auckland. So first fight of the night, we got Priscilla against Shayna Dobson. Neither of these two impressed me. I watched a fight with Dobson and Mazo back when Mazo was fighting Aldridge a couple weeks ago. And she was dominated the entire fight. She didn't really do much on the feet. Her ground game is pretty much, non-existent. So I wasn't impressed by Shayna Dobson at all. But in a couple of her other fights on the feet, she does have, decent technique and a bit of power. But, Priscilla, she's going to probably look to walk her down. And if she can avoid being clipped, because, I have seen Priscilla dropped in a couple fights as well. And Dobson will most likely, look to finish. She'll jump on her quick. But, she has a lot of heart. Her first fight in the UFC was against Valentina Shevchenko at 125. And she stood in the pocket with her in a couple exchanges. So she's a really tough girl. They call her the zombie girl, right? So she does live up to that name. And if she can avoid the power and, really put that pressure on, I wouldn't be surprised to see her get it done late, even by a finish. But the odds are off enough here that I'm going to pick Priscilla. And if it went up much more, I'd probably take a shot. With it being low-level women's MMA, I stay away from that. It's just kind of a rule that I have for the most part. But, it is tempting. But again, I'm going to go with Priscilla on that one. Next up, we got Maki and Takashi Sato. Yesterday, Sato was at 1.8, so I guess somebody took a shot on him. Based on the performances we've seen from Maki so far, I can't warrant picking him in this fight, right? If he comes out, has the jitters out of his system from that first fight, at least he's got that out of his system, right? He's been in the octagon, but, he didn't get the win against, Callum Potter, somebody that, he was a big favorite against. Good performance by Potter, he grinded it out. And I don't necessarily know that Takashi's going to go in there and look to grapple, so Maki could catch him. Line's pretty accurate here. I'm going to take Sato to get it done. I'm going to say by decision. Next up, Loma Lukumbumi and Angela Hill. So, in Loma's debut, I bet her, and, that's something I rarely do. I almost never bet a fighter making their debut in the UFC, but she was taking on Jessica Albu. And she fights out of Tiger Muay Thai, has a ton of Muay Thai fights, right? So she doesn't have a lot of experience in MMA, but she's definitely fought, more than a few times. She has that experience. And she did look good in her debut. Nasty clinch work, really a lot of Muay Thai foundation in her game, right? She doesn't really have a ground game, and I think that's where Angela Hill is going to look to take it. We saw her against Hannah Cyphers, a girl who's also really strong. For that weight class, Cyphers is, one of the strongest. And Angela Hill, outmuscled her and got it to the ground. So I like Angela Hill to take this one. I'm going to say by ground and pound, second round. Next up, we have Cara France and Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam's a guy who has a lot of power in his punches. He'll look to walk down his opponent. I do think the line is a little bit off here. But Cara France, has that experience inside the cage. Tyson Nam has had a fight against Sergio Pettis, so that is some good experience. But Cara, he is fast. He has some really good technique, fighting out of city kickboxing. A bunch of those guys are going to be fighting on this card, and, they're really talented. Israel Adesanya fights out of that camp. And, the game planning is usually pretty good as well. Most of these top gyms, ATT, TriStar, Jackson Wink, they all have good game planning. So, but yeah, it should be a really good fight. I'm going to take Cara France just because of the fact he's fighting at home. I could see a decision going his way, right? The judges might be pulling some robberies on this card. Tyson Nam doesn't really have the best footwork. He's more stationary. But again, he has a lot of pop in his punches, and he has nothing really to lose here. And we've seen how that worked out the last couple UFC events. So, no bet. Definitely not going to put him in any parlays, but I'll take Cara France by decision. Then we got Jalen Turner and Joshua Culibao. So, Culibao is tempting just because I'm not high on Jalen Turner at all. I don't think he's that great. But in this spot, I mean, you got a guy making his UFC debut. He's going to be significantly smaller. Um, I have to take Turner here. It wouldn't be a smart pick to take Culibao. I rarely take, fighters making their debut anyway. But yeah, I just haven't really been high on Turner. A lot of people like what they see from Jalen. I don't really think he's that great. But he can definitely get it done here in this spot. Short notice fight, guy that's way smaller than him. So I'm going to go with Turner there. Then we got Callan Potter and Kanaan. So Callan Potter did look good against Maki Pitolo, but I don't think he has, great striking. His game plan here is definitely going to be to grind out Kanaan, because late in a fight, Song does fade, and we have seen him taken down pretty easily in some of his previous fights. I do think the trajectory here, though, is Kanaan, on his way up, where Callan Potter, is probably on the tail end of his career. I could see him pulling it off. I mean, he's fighting at home as well. The crowd's going to be behind him. The possibility of a robbery again. But I got to go with Kanaan. He's going to be the younger fighter. He's going to be faster, better striking in my opinion. So I'm going to take him in that fight. Then we got Jake Matthews and Emil Meek. I thought the line would be closer on this fight. Jake Matthews would have been a potential bet, but at 1.44 it's off. He has looked really good though, so I can't go against Matthews here, especially at home. I think he's going to get the W just because he has looked so good, especially at that weight. And Emil Meek's had problems with grapplers, so I don't count him out though. Emil Meek's a guy that's going to go in there and bring the fight, and he has been training with Kamaru Usman for this camp, so it's going to be interesting. But I'm going to go with Jake by decision. Then we got Zubaira Tukhov against Kevin Aguilar. So Kevin Aguilar has some really good pace, good cardio, good hands. But I'm just not as high on him, as some other people are. Losing to Dan Ige, though, is nothing to be ashamed of, right? Ige's a really good fighter. And this could be an interesting fight if it goes late. I have to go with Zubaira here, though, I'd give him the grappling advantage. He does have some pop in his punches, not the best technique. I'd give that to Aguilar. I'd say Aguilar has a striking advantage. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tukhov to get it done by decision in this one. Then Magomed Mustafayev and Brad Riddle. This is a line that I'm looking at. I feel like if you did take a bet on Brad Riddle when the line dropped, it was blown up. So that was a really good bet. I think he started at almost 4-1. Now almost down to even money. So, a lot of people heading the Riddle line, fighting out of City Kickboxing as well, another one of these guys. And he does have really good cardio. I think a lot of people that are going with him are probably relying on the fact that late in the fight he'll take over and get it done. But, Mustafayev, he's an animal, right? I think he's, when he's on, he has some serious power and he can put out anybody in my opinion. But I have to take him in this fight. If the line improves at all, like if somebody else were to take a shot on Riddle and Mustafayev went up to closer to 1.8, I would take a shot. I'm even considering this. But I like him to win by TKO. But this is going to be a really good fight. Next up, we got Marcos Rogerio de Lima and Ben Sassoli. So Sassoli's going to be fighting at home here, and he has fast hands for a guy his size. Once he fades, though, he slows down a lot. I mean, at one point in the Greg Hardy fight, he throws a punch, and by the time he's finished throwing it, Greg Hardy's basically almost back to the center of the octagon. So, he goes from quick and powerful, to slow and sloppy real quick. So I've been back and forth on this one. With him fighting at home, it could be one of those scenarios where he just goes for the kill and he's able to clip de Lima because, de Lima throws a lot of leg kicks. That's probably going to be something he's looking to do in this fight because I could see him brutalizing Sassoli with leg kicks. But he also drops his hands when he throws those leg kicks, right? Or any type of kick. He throws body kicks as well. And we know that Ben Sassoli's not going to take it to the ground because, de Lima doesn't really have a great ground game, but this one's going to stay on the feet. And, I think de Lima should be able to get it done, but no bet. I would have bet on Sassoli if he was up at 3-1. That's what I expected he would be at. And if somebody does take that big shot on de Lima and it moves a bit, I'd consider it because, Sassoli does have that power. He says that he's been, eating better shape, dropped a lot of weight, so we'll see how it plays out. This might be one to look at after weigh-ins, but I'm going to go with Lima by decision in this one. Next up, we got Carolina Kavlkiewicz and Xian Yan. I probably butchered that. The line's off here in my opinion, but Yan's been looking really good, so, I kind of understand it. I'm going to be taking her in this fight. Carolina, though, I don't think she should be at 3-1. Definitely not going to be taking a shot on this. But, I do favor Yan. I think she'll be able to get it done by decision here. And then we got Jim Crute and McHale Olenjacek. So this one I have been back and forth on a bit. I think Crute's going to have the size advantage here, and, he is good on the ground. We saw McHale fade, in his last fight and get finished by submission in the second. And I could see that happening here. I do think that he is slightly overrated. At the same time, though, he's, fought some high-level competition, got some big wins, and has some nasty stand-up. I mean, he has some really good head movement. So he's hard to hit when he has that, full stamina bar. But, he's accurate with his punches, targets the liver, good with the body shots. And then when he moves up top, a lot of power as well. So, he's definitely a dangerous opponent. He was taking it to Ovince St. Preux in that fight early. I'm going to take him to win here just because Crute kind of disappointed me in his last fight. He had it in the bag, and then just, the tables turned and he lost the fight. So I still think, he's young in his career. I feel more comfortable taking McHale here. So I'll say Olenjacek by TKO. Then we got a big main event. This should be a really good fight. I'm looking forward to this one. Paul Felder and Daniel Hooker. Hooker fighting at home, going to have huge crowd support. Paul Felder, though, he's going to be coming to fight, and I don't think the crowd's going to affect him. So two ways I see this going. I think, Hooker has the ability to keep Paul Felder at range, probably outpoint him, using the leg kick and the jab. But, I have seen him rocked in some of his previous fights, right? When he gets hit with a punch, he definitely doesn't take it as well as Felder. Felder can take a big shot and keep coming forward. So he has a really good chin, whereas, Hooker, he can take a shot, but, he gets wobbled, and Felder's the type of guy that's going to swarm at that point. He also has really good clinch work, big elbows. And I just, I'm leaning towards Felder as the dog, right? Being the better pick than Hooker, but not interested in a bet here because for me, I'm not confident on either side. But just because of the fact that I have seen him wobbled and I feel like Felder can take advantage of that, I'm going to be taking him in this spot. This could be one of those events where, there's some crazy outcomes. But that's about it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. I have a bunch of other fights to look into, so I can get that other video out. Let me know if you guys have any bets on this one. I mean, it's not a great one for betting. I am looking at Mustafayev as a potential bet. But honestly, the worst card of the year so far. No line to me that really stands out as something that I want to jump on. But that's why it's good we have all these other promotions putting on shows. Might be potential, parlay option from the UFC card as well. So I am still looking at it, but I'll get back to you guys on the Bellator video, if there has been any bets made in between, now and when I put that out. All right, so I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.